Hello everyone and welcome to Riordanverse News, your one-stop spot for everything Riordanverse. Whether it be adaptation, books and everything in between, this is the place you want to be. Be sure to hit that subscribe button before we go any further because we have a lot of news to get through today, so let's get into it. So just as I've basically finished posting last week's Riordanverse news, we got a further update that then came through with a new blog on Rick's website, talking about the green light news and everything else that has followed. So we're basically just going to be going through that as well as some additional news. So let's go through the blog. So first of the main thing that we got from this is that there are now 4 complete and handed in scripts, which will be going through with the production. And because it's now been greenlit, this is, well, actually it mentions here that the first 4 scripts are what needed to be done for the show to be greenlit. This is something I didn't know before, so this is actually very interesting. They're now just working on some revisions based on the studio's feedback, and once that's been done, they'll be able to progress further with the other scripts and so on and so forth. They mentioned then that for the rest of the spring, they're going to be working up on finishing the rest of the script. So basically, I would assume that would mean that by the end of May, every single script for however many episodes there are going to be will have been written and finalised. Rick then goes on to say that The Lightning Thief is going to be 100% faithful. Though what they are going to be doing is adding some additional things such as Easter eggs, more depth, some nuance and backstory. So basically it's just going to be The Lightning Thief but just with a little bit more, which can only be good because who doesn't want more Percy Jackson related stuff. Going into then casting, Rick says that they are obviously still doing the open casting for Percy, Annabeth and Grover that is underway. They've got lots of tapes in and they're going through them. But he then goes on to mention that Percy, Annabeth and Grover seemingly are going to be the only roles that were open casting. The rest are not going to be done in the same way. So probably it's going to be within the industry or people already known who are going to be brought onto the project. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that fans who wanted to get involved can't, but it would definitely have to be fans who already have casting agents. So if you haven't already and you are wanting to get into acting, an agent is definitely the best way that you need to go. There's a channel that I've followed or know of that talks about things like this. I'll link that in the description box for anyone who is wanting to get into acting, specifically so they can later then get onto the Percy Jackson show. There are going to hopefully be all 5 seasons, so you can play a multitude of different characters who appear later on. So you just need to get the experience. So I'll link that channel. I can't remember the channel's name, but it'll be linked in the description box if you're wanting more information on that. Rick has then also gone to say that if you hear any official word that someone has been cast for a role, don't believe it because they're not at that stage at the moment, and unless he is saying something or someone from the actual team is saying anything, don't believe a word. Which is hilarious considering the fact that there's literally just been one already where Becky has even put onto her page that someone tried to say Arnold Schwarzenegger may be Zeus in Percy Jackson. No. Rick then goes on to show his Persassy side in that apparently there's been a lot of comments, and as someone who has a Percy Jackson TikTok and even this channel here who has seen lots of people asking about a Heroes of Olympus adaptation, as Rick says, dude, that's like 6 books away. Calm down, we need to get this one done first. And I agree, stop asking about Heroes of Olympus. We don't even know if that will ever be adapted. We can hope, we don't know if it will be. And that's a similar conversation with the people who talk about diversity. There isn't much diversity in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. You're thinking of Heroes of Olympus. Carded video for where I discuss this. Rick then goes on to talk about production, and it is mentioned that they are intending to start production this summer, which means filming will possibly happen this summer, which makes sense considering the time of when this book is about, and he also then mentions that it will most likely be in Vancouver. He then mentions a lot of really interesting stuff about the fact that there is a stage being built, production designers are working hard imagining what Percy's world will look like, the visual effects team are designing the monsters, costume designers, composers, and all the manner of important folk are being hired. It's really fascinating stuff, and I'm really looking forward, and I like that we get confirmation that production will most likely happen this summer, and the fact that it's Vancouver, which as far as I'm aware is pretty much a common place for productions to happen. As I know, for example, the Avatar, the live action show, is happening in Vancouver as well. Additional thing I forgot to add about what Rick mentioned. So Rick talks about the fact that basically him and Becky don't have full creative control because, it's a team of people. They're executive producers, but it's still working with a team. but they're really happy with the way in which the direction things are going, and they're sure that we will as well. So, that's just something that's to be expected. Obviously, not everyone's going to have full creative control. He's involved, he's with the writing, he's with the writers team, he's a producer, he has a lot of responsibility for it, but not everything is going to be fully down to him, because that's not how productions work. So, kind of obvious, but I'm glad that he said it. Now, this was an interesting one that was brought up later, which is where Rick basically answers the questions that lots of people have been asking, which is, why isn't the show animated? And there's been lots of comments and discussions about this. I even did one here on my channel, and so did Unclaimed Demigod, about whether or not the show should be, basically if it'd be better if it was in animation. And Rick basically says he loves animation. He would love to do something animated later. But for him personally, he's always seen Percy Jackson as a live action show. Even going on to say that for him and for the Percy Jackson story, he believes live action is going to carry more weight for the adaptation in general. And that I do understand. Unfortunately, with the way in which media is and the way in which audience are, most people do still see animation as something that is childlike. It's not accurate, it's not right, but I can understand the anxiety of wanting your project to basically take off and actually get the audience it needs. And more often than not, live action is the way to do that. So if you want to guarantee 5 seasons, live action is definitely probably the best way to make sure that happens. But as I've said before, Heroes of Olympus definitely could be animated, especially considering the timeline of that series. So maybe the hints that Rick is saying of he would love to do something animated in the future could be to do with something like that, but who knows, it'd be interesting either way. Moving away from Percy Jackson, we get further confirmation from Rick that thankfully the Kane Chronicles with Netflix is progressing further. They are currently looking for someone to revise the Kane Chronicles script, and once that's been done, they will start looking for potential directors. So that is really, I'm really glad to hear that. I'm someone who's really excited for the Kane Chronicles Netflix adaptation, but still, most people don't even know that Kane Chronicles is being adapted. Admittedly, some people don't even know these books exist, which breaks my heart on so many levels. But the Kane Chronicles is being adapted as a live action trilogy of movies. And that movie is not a TV show like Percy Jackson, and they will be on Netflix. And yeah, things are moving forward. The script is hopefully going to be revised soon, and then directors will soon follow. So fingers crossed we'll get more on that this year. We also get a note on the Daughters of the Deep adaptation that is coming to Disney+, and basically the fact that they're currently still in contracting, things are being decided about what's going to happen before it's official that this adaptation will happen. Basically just means they got to get the rights sorted, and then they can start writing the screenplay. And that's basically all that came up in that blog, but it was a lot of information, so I am very, very thrilled that we're still getting more. And yeah, I'm really happy to see that things are progressing so well for the adaptation, and with all of the adaptations, but obviously particularly for Percy Jackson, which is the one that is pushing forward quicker than the others thus far. But moving on from the adaptation news, the only news really we have left for this week is from Gracie Kim, a Rick Riordan Presents author. So Gracie Kim has a giveaway going at the moment for The Last Fallen Moon, the sequel to her Gilded Clan series, which is the sequel to The Last Fallen Star. So if you want to have the chance of winning an ARC copy of The Last Fallen Moon, you can go to her page, whether it be on her Instagram or Twitter, they'll both be linked below, and tag someone who is a reader and say what your zodiac animal sign is. For me, I am the Year of the Pig, and I have commented already on both platforms because I really want to read The Last Fallen Moon so bad. But that's going to be linked in the description box down below, so if you are interested in winning this giveaway, it does end on February 8th, so be sure to get in quickly. Mini revision here, I forgot to mention that also you will get The Last Fallen Star as well, so you will get an arc of The Last Fallen Star and The Last Fallen Moon, the sequel, which doesn't come out until June, so you'll be getting an early copy, which is even better. But yeah, that is all we have time for today. Lots of news adaptation-wise, not much RRP-wise, but you know, it's always fascinating. What part of the news that you've had here today are you most excited about? Let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, of course, that is all we have time for. If you want to check into all this information, it is going to be in the description box. And if you want to hear more news in future, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell for every week Riordanverse news. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.